everybody. Welcome back to In the Corner. I'm Dr. Cammie Hunt. So glad to be back with you, and I hope you enjoyed Easter in the Corner this past month. It was phenomenal, and we're right back to our regular schedule of In the Corner. So, of course, I'm right back here with my awesome brother, Bishop Randall Hunt.
I'm back. Hey. We are back with Dr. Cammie Hunt, and I'm telling you, it is so exciting. We are in May.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, it's unbelievable to think we're already here in May, and I'm so glad. And like she said, I hope all of you got to see Easter in the Corner. If you haven't, go back and watch it again. It's on there, so you can watch it over and over. But we're excited about what God is doing,
Yes, we
and
are.
it is just a tremendous blessing to be able to come every week and bring you In the Corner, and I'm so thankful that you are tuning in with us, and I hope you are enjoying it like we are.
Yes, and you know what, Pastor Randall, next month, next month, In the Corner will be 1 year old.
That's right. It started in June.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Can
June
you
of
believe it?
2020, in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes.
And now we're at the end of the pandemic,
Thank
and
the
we are
Lord.
going strong. Amen.
Yes,
That's
and a
awesome.
whole year. That was a fast year. I know it was a pandemic year, but it really went by pretty quick.
It did.
If you
It
think
did.
about it,
That's the
it
truth.
seems like it has not been a year, but it's been a year. So we'll be a year old next month.
That's awesome. There's something big coming up this weekend.
Oh yes, there is.
Absolutely. And I'll let you talk about that and what we've got in store right now for them.
Yes, if you look at my shirt, you see Blessed Mama, because Mother's Day is coming up.
Yes, happy Mother's Day. And this is the Mother's Day in the Corner
Yes.
episode.
Yes, it is. And we have a big surprise for
Big
you
surprise.
today. This is the first time ever, that this has ever occurred. This is a big surprise. First time ever. We want to welcome our very special guest.
Yes.
Our
mother. Yeah. Woo.
Sister BB Hunt is with us
Yes.
tonight. Yay.
Oh, everybody, look, just snap this, take a picture of it, do
Yes.
whatever you do. You may never see this again.
Right.
But we are so thrilled to have Mom with us on In the Corner for
Yes, we
Mother's
are.
Day.
Yes, yay. Welcome our mom. Yay.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here with you and a privilege. It really is.
Well, we're the one
Lots
privileged.
lots of reasons, really.
Yes, and we're so
And
excited.
it did take a little coaxing along the way, but
A lot of prayer.
you know, you love your children and you want them to be happy, and so you try to keep them happy. And if this is what it takes, so be it.
Well, there you go. Yay!
We are just so happy to have you with us, Mom. And we have so many questions and so many stories to share. I wanted Mom to come on, and I had talked to Pastor Randall about it. I said, I want Mom to come on because, you know, Mom never gets seen.
Right.
And, you know, in all the years, Daddy, you know, he was the one up front doing the ministry, and Mom was the one behind the scenes doing all the work, and she made him look good, and she
Oh,
made
yes.
us look good.
Absolutely.
And she is just fantastic at what she does. And so I said, I want to bring Mom on. And like she said, it took a lot of coaxing, but we got her to come on. So, Mom, we're happy to
And
have
isn't
you.
she
Thank
beautiful?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's not overdo this now.
We think she's the most beautiful mom in the world,
Absolutely.
of course.
Absolutely. But we are thrilled that she's here with us, celebrating Mother's Day again, coming up this weekend. Treat your mother very special this
Yes.
weekend. I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome, awesome, awesome. And we are so excited. So let's jump right in and
Yes.
talk to Mom about mothers.
Yes. Mom, we want
Yes.
to start from the beginning. Daddy has told us a little bit, you know, about, you know, going into the ministry and all, but we want to hear your side of that.
Well, it's the same thing, of course, that he's told over many, many years. But he and I were very happy, and everything was going great. We both were working in the church, and but we wanted children. I mean, before we got married, we talked about our children. And as he said, we named our children. And we just knew that God was going to give us a boy and a girl. And it just didn't happen. And so we diligently prayed about it and sought God. And it came to the place that I have to admit, I didn't give up, but I became a little down, you know, a little. And so he had a good job, and we had like the house with the little picket fence and all, and I was happy. Really, I was, because my father was a minister. And I knew the hardships that we faced as a family and children with my daddy being in the ministry, and it was not easy. It really wasn't, because there's just so many things a family has to face when the head of the home is in the ministry. And so I told him, I said, I will never marry a minister. I will never marry a salesman. And I'll never marry a man in the military. And I happened to have all three in the same man.
I was starting to say you married all three in one.
In one. Of course, now he was not in the ministry when we married. And once in a while he would mention it, and I'd say, oh, not going to talk about that, not going to talk about that. But I knew how much he loved God and how much that he was involved in our local church. And so he was doing a lot of things in the church. And he told me one day, he said, Bibi, he said, one day I will have to go and preach. And so I prayed about it, because I knew that the calling of God is without repentance. And I knew that he would have to do this. And so I began to seek God. And so then when it didn't seem like we could have a child, he was on his way to work one morning, and he came back. And when he did, he told me God had told him to go into the ministry and he would give us a child. Well, I went back to the scriptures, and God actually let me know that was the way it had to be. That's the way it was going to be. So I resigned myself to the fact, and we started praying and seeking God. And the rest is history. I think about a year, maybe a little over a year later, Cammie was born. And then 3 years later, we wanted a little boy, and we talked about it, and I said, honey, do you think we can have another child? And my doctor said, absolutely, I could. And Franco says, yes, because God said we were. So 3 years later, we had Randall, a little boy. So it just seemed like that just completed our lives, having a boy and a girl. So, and as we celebrate this Mother's Day, I always tell you to, because you say, Mama, I love you, and you're the best mother in the world, and all that good stuff. But I wanted you to know that it wasn't for you, too. I would not be a mother. And that's true. So I didn't want you to ever forget that y'all played a big part in my life in being a mother to my children. And may I add that it is the greatest privilege of any woman that I know of, to have children. It's just, all of you mothers know, it is just the most wonderful thing in the world. And with it comes a lot of responsibilities, though. And I think sometimes in the day we live in, a lot of people don't want to accept those responsibilities in raising their children, and we can kind of look around and see what kind of generation that we're in. And I think a lot of it should start at home, basically with the family, basically with the mother. That's how I feel about that.
That is right. That's exactly right. Now, Daddy went into the ministry. He was evangelizing. How hard was it to be a mother at home, married to an evangelist, traveling all the time? Because I think this is insight that a lot of people don't realize, because there's a lot of people that, aren't in ministry or whatever, but a lot of people like to know, because you were an incredible mother to us. All we have, honestly, I think I speak for Cammie too, is good memories of us growing up, because you never let us know the tough things that were happening. But I know it had to be tough with Daddy traveling as much as he did. So speak a little bit about that and let people know, what you faced as a mother with an evangelist.
Well, for one thing, it was like our lives changed so much, because I was used to a husband that got up and went to work every day. And when Franklin went into the ministry, then our schedule changed. It was like, I tell somebody, it's like a person holding a second shift job, because we came home late at night, and you'd have to rest in the morning. And then by the time you got up and you had everything else to do, then it was time to get dressed and get the children dressed to go back to church. And you have to remember, which both of you do, that your daddy had 6 and 7 week revivals. And I wanted to go with him as much as I could. I couldn't always go because he had to drive a distance. And also, he would go and stay at a place for a week or so, and I'd be home alone with the children because everybody would not welcome an evangelist and wife and 2 small children. I mean, you think about that, you know. And so actually, a lot of times we were home without Daddy because he had to go. And so it was hard. It was really hard. But I have to honestly say, the churches that we visited always welcomed you two and me so graciously. And things like that, you know, I will never forget. And I think that's one of the reasons why when we founded our church and we started having evangelists in our church, I wanted to make sure that evangelist and family, we had a few that stayed with us at first, and I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable and their needs were fulfilled and they felt welcome because it was so important that we did that, because I can tell you the people that I felt welcomed us so much, and those people, a lot of those people are in heaven today. But I will never forget the precious people that took us in and took care of us so my husband could preach and see souls saved. That was the main thing, is getting souls saved, and which you have to think. But it was hard because I spent a lot of time getting you two ready. I had to have the bottles and the diapers and everything else. And one thing, a lot of the churches did not have nurseries back then. Yes.
I got a mini a pop on the leg
Yes.
for cutting up in church.
Well, I kept you in church, both of you. And, of course, I had a little bag full of kind of toys and things. You know, you do what you have to do. But you both learned to stay in church and behave, because if you didn't, you knew where Mother was going to take you.
I just remember a lot of places we'd go and we would stay with people. We got a lot of ice cream.
Yes. Oh, good.
We did get spoiled a lot. We did. We can.
We did. We were spoiled a lot because, like Mom said, the people were so gracious to us and so good to us. And honestly, it was almost like the places that we went, there were places that Daddy would go every year. And we almost had like mini families in different, because I remember going to people's homes and because I was a little bit older, I remember going to people's homes and more than once. And I remember when we would go back, I would, you know, it was like I said, it was like mini families. You knew, like I got to the age to where when Mom and Dad would say, well, we're going to go to blah, blah city, I knew whose home we were going to. And I knew what it was going to be like and what they would have there. And I'll never forget the people with the parrots.
Yes.
The Lamberts.
The Lamberts.
The Lamberts with the
Yes.
parrots. And
Yes.
they had trained parrots that would talk. I don't remember the parrots' names, but the parrots would talk. And I was little, and I would go in and talk to the parrots. And the parrots would talk. They would talk to you.
And I was terrified of it.
Yeah.
I do remember quite vividly.
Yes.
Well, we was a lot younger.
Right.
Now,
I was
those
a little
birds
older.
were crazy.
I liked them. I thought they were pretty cool. But it was just different thing, you know, different homes. You got used to those homes.
Right.
And you got familiar with those people. And like Mom said, a lot of those people are in heaven now. But even now, we will run into people. And it's kind of funny because they will remember me. And I'll have to say, Mama, who was that? She'll have to tell me who it was that we just talked to, you know, because I was so small. One of the other things I remember, too, Mom, is when we would travel, Daddy was, of course, always, you know, involved in the business of why we were there. He was involved in the ministry of it and studying the Word and, you know, preaching to the people and praying for the people. But Mom was a mom no matter what. Not that Daddy wasn't Daddy, of course he was, but Mom kept mom as number one. And that's what's, I think, sometimes is missing in the generation that we're in now, is that mom doesn't always make being a mother the priority.
Right.
And mom always made it her priority. We were her priority, no matter what, whose house we were in, no matter how many weeks the revival was, no matter what city we were in, we were her children. And I remember everywhere we would go, especially when we got older, Mom didn't want it to be boring for us.
Right.
And so she would always find something fun for us to do in different cities. And if we stayed in a hotel, we had a swimming pool.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
I remember that very well. And Mom would actually take days, and she would say, today, we're going to be a family. Today, we're going to go to the swimming pool, or we're going to go to the park, or we're going to have family time. She was very, very much, a stickler for family time, which is so very important. And now, you have working dads and working moms and a lot of single parents, and it's difficult, but it's important to try to find those days or those hours and say, this is family time. We're not going to do, we're not going to worry about work right now. We're not going to worry about school right now. We're going to spend time together as a family. That's extremely important. We were talking about this earlier today. Your family is your family. Whether you're married, whether you're single, whatever it is, your family is your family, and you have to have family time. And I was talking to Mom earlier today about me with my children because, I'm not married, so my kids and I are we're the family.
That's right.
And so we have to fill in the gaps.
That's right.
And you have to do that sometimes. You have to fill in those gaps. And Mom did. Not that Daddy was gone, but he would be like going on, to a revival, or he would be preaching, or he would be, at a camp meeting, or he'd be in a state meeting, and things. And Mom always made sure we were family first.
That is so true, because she did. That's Cammie and I growing up. Both of us, our childhood, we don't have any. Like I said before, we don't have anything but good memories because Mom made sure that we were her priority. And I think that is definitely what you're saying. That's what's so needed. It's sad to see how mothers, push their children off or don't have time for their children because they have so many other things. We've never lived in a society to where the mother's now just a friend so many times instead of a mother.
That's right.
And it shouldn't be that
That's
way.
right, right.
It's a shame. So we need to lift mothers up in prayer, especially coming up this weekend, because mothers have a big weekend, but this should be their honored weekend. And so honor your mothers. Honor them with everything that you can this weekend, because it's going to be tremendous. It really, really is. So later, Mom, then Daddy comes and he starts pastoring. He tells you that now he's going to go to pastor and going to move to Fayetteville,
Right.
which you weren't from Fayetteville. You were
Right.
from Wilson and
Right.
Kinley in that area there. So that had to be a difficult change. But what I remember is now you took on the responsibility of not just the mother of us, but now you became mother of a church too, because pastors' wives who are mothers are become the mother of a church.
Yes.
And so I can remember there were so many people in our church that adopted you as their mother. And honestly, it wasn't really easy for Cammie and I. Cammie can probably tell some stories that probably wouldn't be really healthy in the corner. But how was that, that transition from the evangelist's wife and the mother to us to the pastor's wife and still the mother, then becoming the mother of a church? Was that a difficult transition, or how did you look at it that way?
Well, naturally it was difficult because we'd never pastored a church. And like I said, I always made this little comment. I would say, honey, to my husband, I'd say, be an evangelist, you can just love the people and leave them. Right. You don't have to worry about when their problems come up or what happens. You just love them, help get them saved, and then we're gone. But like Cammie said, we'd come back because we love the people. We love them, but the responsibility of pastoring was not ours then. Right. So now it was the responsibility of us to pastor, live with the people, and love the people regardless. And we knew that the time had come. We knew it was time for us to pastor. And you never can prepare yourself for it, because dealing with people, you deal with all kinds of emotions. And when you have a church, you have all kinds of emotions, all kinds of people. But that's where you have to let God you have to be God's channel to love these people, because you have to let God's love come through you to the people. And naturally, as being humans as we are, sometimes it was a little bit hard to do that, because remember, people's personalities were different, and some people's personalities was harder, to get along with than others. So that was one of the challenges that we faced. But God gave us a special love for people. I know that. He really did. And we didn't have a really hard problem loving people, because God did give us that gift. But dealing with people, was a different situation, being with them and helping take care of them and all. And yes, I did assume the role of being the mother of the church. And at first, it was a little strange, because I'll never forget, some of the ladies at that time were older than I was. And they would call me mother, or you're just like a mother to me. And I says, oh, how about a sister? How about a sister, or something to that effect. But I took it as a compliment. I really did, because I knew what they were talking about, and they needed a mother. There's a lot of people out here, grown people, even grown people, that need a mother figure to look up to. And that is something today that the world needs. It really is. Everybody needs a mother and a father. They really do. And some of their parents were not what they needed to be. And so that left a void in these people's lives. And they're always seeking someone to care for them. The father figure, the mother figure, because God created that. He created man and woman, and they were husband and wife and mother and father. And God created the family. He loves our family. And so when you get to realize all of that, you just step into that role, knowing that was a gift that God gave you to be a mother, a spiritual mom to the people. And I was spiritual mom to men as well as women. It just wasn't women. There was a lot of men that called me mom and loved me as their mother. And so it all goes with the pastoring and the loving and the shepherding of the church.
I think that's a beautiful thing, and Sherry and I Sherry has taken on that responsibility too with our church, and Cami being the pastor of her church is both the pastor and the mother of her church, and so it is very important. And this holiday is very difficult for some people that didn't have a good mother or didn't have a mother at all, and so it's so vital that pastors' wives or pastors in that sense do become that to those people, because I can remember, and I know Cami could talk about this too, but there were people, now us as children, a lot of times we didn't understand it.
Yeah,
it did cause a little bit of
that's true.
of friction at times, but now that we're older, we completely understand it. And but there were people, whether they were male or female, that mom did take the role of their mother, and to a point, again, here's where the issue was. They literally thought or acted like she was their mother. And so Cami can probably speak to that a little bit, because she had a little more issue than I did with it.
Yeah.
Well, I was older. But yeah, it was a little difficult, especially in my teenage years. Because, as a teenage female, and males go through things too, but I'm speaking from a female standpoint, girls go through a lot of different emotions,
Yes.
etc., in those teenage years. And so for me, going through the teenage years and then, seeing people who literally thought my mom was their mom, I was just angry, rebellious, upset. And so I coined a little phrase, and
I
I
started
still
to say you coined the
yeah, I
phrase.
still will use it sometimes, tease, and I'll even tease Pastor Randall about it sometimes, but I'll say, the line forms behind me. I'm first. I'm number one. I was the firstborn. I was the miracle baby. I'm the one that the doctor went through the hospital saying, this is the miracle. That was me. But
You made sure we never forgot that.
right, and I still make sure you never forget it. but seriously, it has to do with immaturity and then growing, maturing not just physically but in the spirit, to where it became a thing that it didn't bother me anymore. And of course now it doesn't bother me at all, because like Pastor Randall said, even in my own church, I'm pastor, but I'm also mom too to a lot of people, because you realize that, like Mom was just saying earlier, people don't always have parents that are loving. They don't always have parents that are there for them, and so they're looking for that, and they find it in your parents. When you're the child of a pastor, they find it in your parents. They find that, and at first it was a little rocky, but like I said, once I understood it, now it's different for me now. I appreciate that people know they can trust my mom and dad, that they can trust my brother and my sister-in-law, they can trust me. It's a different thing now. It becomes more of an appreciation, to where now you not only see those roles, but you assume those roles, and you become who someone needs you to be, and it makes you more appreciative. It makes me more appreciative that I did have and still do have excellent parents. I've had people tell me before, you don't know how lucky you are. And I say, yes, I do, because I've seen people that didn't have, and I've counseled with people that didn't have, and even lived with people that didn't have, because Mom and Dad would actually bring people into the home that lived with us.
Yes.
And people that had been through total nervous breakdowns. And I watched my mom. I watched my dad, of course, do the counseling and the ministry, but I watched my mom do what would be considered home health care of these people. I've watched her be a mom. I've watched her spoon feed people because they couldn't hold the utensils because their hands were shaking. I've watched her help women get dressed, and I watched her do those things. And watching that was what helped me to really decide to do what I wanted to do, was go into social work and go into helping people and counseling with people. That's what kind of directed my path, and of course, the call of God to be a pastor. But it made me more thankful for the parents that I have. It really did.
It's so true, and there's no coincidences with God. There's no happenstance. Growing up, Cammie and I didn't understand when we'd see our mother have to be a mother to other people, but yet it was training ground for us. And God was taking us through this and letting us see Mom to be able to do that, or do that for other people, so that we would have that kind of compassion now as pastors for our sheep and for the people that God has put in our lives, that we are to lead and we're to guide and we're to help. And we don't hesitate now. And like you said, yes, we know how fortunate we were. Absolutely, because God taught us and He showed us that and gave us that. And so that's how incredible of a mom we have and still have, because she did those things in front of us without hesitation, didn't try to hide anything. But at that time, she had no idea what our future was either. And so it's just incredible to know that we had that. And again, if you're part of a church, and you don't have a mother, find a mother in that church. It's so important. The Bible talks about the spirit of adoption, and we all have that. And like Mom was saying a while ago, whenever God created the family unit, He created the man, the woman, then the husband, the wife, then the mother, the father, all as one, to be that family unit. And so that's why we do have that Abba, that Heavenly Father. And then He in turn gives us the spirit of adoption, to where we're able to do that. And so, yes, it's a difficult holiday for some, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be. You need to be that mother to that person. You need to reach out to that person that doesn't have a mother, needs one, and be there for them. And you that don't have a mother, search it out, find it, because God is waiting there. He says, who is your mother? Who is your father? The ones that do the will of the Father. And that's who you need to find out. Look for the one who's doing the will of God, and then follow them, and they will do that. They will be that, become that mother and that inspiration for you, and it is just incredible. But hands down, you can't have ours.
No.
I mean, you can adopt her in a way, but it just ain't gonna happen, because she is the greatest of all time.
She is, and we love our mom and appreciate her. And we thank you for being on In the Corner with us this month.
It's been my pleasure, and I would like to say that I had one of the greatest mothers, and both of you know that. That I think God handpicked that mother for me. She was such a beautiful example. She was a pastor's wife, but she was a mother first. She always was a mother's first, and taught us the ways of the Lord, which was the most important thing she could have ever taught us. And I was so blessed that I had a mother that lived to be 93 years old, and I miss her very much, even to this day. I still miss my mother, because there's nothing like a mother, a true mother. And I just thank God that I had that opportunity. And to be able to pass these things down from one generation to another is a great thing. It is, because she taught me how to pray. My father was the minister, but my mother was the mother, like you said. And she taught us to pray. She taught us to trust in God. And she taught us how to love people. My mother was a lover of people. She loved people, and people loved my mother. But I thank God that I had that opportunity.
I came across a picture that Sherry had found for me a week or so ago, and it was one of the last pictures I ever took with Grandma, and I was holding her, and I was thinking that same thing. I said, now this lady taught love.
She did.
More than anything else, and you couldn't help but love her. There's no way you could be around Grandmama and not love her, because it radiated from her. And so that passed from her to you, from you to us, and I just want to be that love for the world.
And you had a beautiful, loving grandmother in Franklin's mother, but you never got to meet her. God took her before she knew about Cammie. I was expecting Cammie when God took her, and but she was you would have loved her. You know, we've always talked to you about her. I wanted you to know that you did feel like you know her, because she was another beautiful child of God and a very precious, precious lady. And I thank God that she was in my life for a few years also.
Amen. It's wonderful to be able to talk about, you know, great moms and passing down the generation. Mom is not only the mom of us. She has 4 grandchildren, and
yes.
One day going to have great grandchildren.
Oh, yes.
And again, passing it down from generation to generation.
Right.
And honestly, the best advice that I can give to you, parents, and this is for moms and dads, is this: don't just teach your children Bible stories, but create God encounters for your children.
Right.
Because Mom did that for us, and Daddy did too. We didn't just get saved just because it was the thing to do. They didn't just teach us the Bible. We would have home studies. Daddy would, and Mom too would you know, bring us together and teach us how to pray, and teach us about the power of God,
Yes.
and show us. I mean, it was demonstrated, of course, in the church services, but it was demonstrated at home. One thing about Mom is, and I even now, if I don't feel good, I want my mama to pray for me. My mom is a praying woman. Of course, my daddy is a praying man, you know, but again, you know, you see daddy up front, you don't see what mom does. And there's power in mom's prayer. There is power in the prayer of a mother. And so, you know, don't just pass down a Bible story, but get together and spend those family times together and create those God encounters for your children. Let your children pray for you. That's also important. I know one of the things I always reiterated in children's ministry was let the children pray for the adults, because
Yes.
children have faith. It's just remarkable. And that's why the Lord tells us to have faith like a little child. And so, create those God moments and those God encounters. Amen. And watch what God does. Anything else you want to say before we sign off, Mom?
Well, I'd like to say that I've enjoyed this, and it's been a pleasure being with my children. You'll always be my boy and girl, regardless, and mostly my babies. I always said that. I told them, I said, regardless of how old you ever get, you will always be your mother's baby. Always.
I told Sherry yesterday, we were traveling, and I told her, I said, it's funny, your children do not know how much they mean to you.
That's true.
They really don't.
That's
I thought about it. I
true.
said, you just reiterated the point, no matter how old we get, we'll always be your babies. And that's true.
That's true.
That's very, very true. And so children realize you really are that important. No matter how old your parents are, you still are their babies, and you're going to be forever.
Forever. Because it's in the mother's heart. God put it there, and that's the way it is. But I want to wish all the wonderful mothers out there today a very, very beautiful and great Mother's Day, and enjoy every single minute of it. Every minute, because we can't recall it.
That's right.
You won't get it back.
Amen. Praise God. Anything else you want to say,
I
Pastor
just want
Randall?
to say the same thing too. Happy Mother's Day. Thank y'all for joining us for this special edition of In the Corner, Mother's Day style, Mother's Day edition. And so happy Mother's Day, everyone. I hope you have the best one you've ever had.
And of course, from me too, happy Mother's Day. We love and appreciate you. And don't forget to tune in next week for another exciting episode of In the Corner. We got some great things coming up. God bless you. We love you. Enjoy your week.